First, let me give a shout out to Nicole from Nicole's View for speaking about this particular topic. I will leave the link to her video as well as the other links down in the description box. So, as we all know, Diamond Reynolds, who is the girlfriend of Philando Castile, who was brutally murdered last year in her vehicle while she live streamed the event on Facebook while her daughter was in the back seat, recently received a settlement. She received an $800,000 settlement. Personally, I don't think that's even remotely high enough considering all the shit that she has been through. I'm almost certain that this woman had to go through and probably is going through some type of therapy, because to see your loved one get killed in that manner and they were right beside you and then you had your child in the back seat, like you had to worry about the person that was getting harmed, yourself as well as your child in the back seat. Like, I can't even imagine going through something like that. So I really sympathize with her in that aspect. But anyway, as you can see, this is a tweet that was put out by an individual by the name of Tom McBroom Sr. He had a position in law enforcement in the state of Minnesota, and I'm only assuming that it had to be somewhere in some department near where the whole Philando Castile event happened, or somewhere in that state. Now I'm going to read to you what he said. He says, she needs to come off county and state aid now that she has some cash. It'll be gone in 6 months on crack cocaine. He posted that at 10:15 p.m. on November 28th, 2017. First of all, let me just say that this Tom McBroom Sr. is a piece of shit and will always be a piece of shit. Who is he to come onto social media and say what this woman is going to do with the money? You know what this is saying? That when black people get money, or an excessive amount of it, that we're going to blow it on frivolous bullshit or stuff that will harm us or deter our health or something to that effect. How many times have we heard these trust fund babies, mostly who are white, blow the money that their parents or whoever leaves them? Which is why they have wills to ensure the right people get the money. And that's probably how a lot of their family fights end up happening, and then that's somehow how a lot of them end up dead. How many stories have we heard where white people will kill their loved ones and parents for insurance money? We've heard that plenty and plenty of times. Look at the Menendez brothers. Perfect example. They killed their parents for the insurance money when they started to splurge, and then that's how they got found out that they were the ones that killed their parents. But let me continue reading. These are some of the responses. A lot of false assumptions on your part. Then someone else says, what leads you to that conclusion? I'm guessing stereotypes. Hashtag uneducated. Into which Tom McBroom Sr. replied, history. So he's basically using the era in which black people were affected heavily by the crack cocaine epidemic back in the 80s and early 90s as history. Well, Tom McBroom Sr., if you're going to talk about history of that, why not talk about all of it and talk about how it was people that look like yourself who dropped those drugs in the black community, how they took away opportunities for black people to thrive. See, this was a wrench thrown. I always say that the cocaine being dumped into black communities was a wrench thrown into our thriving. Notice that every time black people are thriving somewhere, they find a way to thwart whatever it is that we're working on. Every single time. Now, it wasn't black people running these factories or wherever the cocaine is being made and dumping it in their own communities. The only thing black people really did was become drug dealers because of lack of opportunities. Because of that, they had to survive some way. Now, when it comes to these opioids and this opioid plague, that was also dumped into white suburbia by white pharmaceutical owners. Wouldn't that be considered white on white crime, Tom McBroom Sr.? And another thing, speaking of settlement, I would like to ask Tom this question. What was your take on the white nurse who was manhandled by that security officer? I believe it was in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those Midwestern to Western states. And I believe she got a bigger settlement than Diamond Reynolds got. Personally, I think hers could have been $800,000 and Diamond Reynolds should have been in the millions. And I believe that settlement money is untaxed. The only thing she has to pay is lawyer fees, and the rest belongs to her. Who's to say what Diamond Reynolds is going to actually do with that money? She might actually do something tangible with it, which also brings to another point I've talked about before, where they think when black people get a lot of money that we don't know what we're going to do with it. That's why they always question what black people are going to do if we get reparations. And this also goes back to a point Mrs. Superboy always makes. They always have to keep an eye out on what money we receive, especially if you're famous and you're making millions of dollars a year. Some cases, maybe millions of dollars a month. It's none of his damn business what Diamond does with the money. It's her money. She can do with it what she wants. And how would he know that she's on cocaine? Has he lived in her house? Has he seen her freebasing? Has he seen her sniffing white powder off of a countertop with a straw? Maybe that's what he does in his spare time. And something tells me another reason why he's upset about it too is because where the money is coming from. That money's coming out of his tax-paying money, his tax-paying pocket, I should say. So he feels that if he says this, why should I support her habit? But that goes back to me saying, how would he know that she's on cocaine? Because of how she looks? Because of how she presents herself? There's a lot of people who are drug addicts who present themselves in the best manner, but you would never know that's what they were like. And then there's people that look like Diamond that's just who they are and probably never used or took drugs a day in their life. So not only was his tweet very racist, but it was very stereotypical, because when he said what he said about Diamond, that's what he probably thinks of all black people, that all we do is drugs, that we're all lazy, that we don't work, that we must pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. I'm telling you, it's cold words to everything. Like how they paint us with a broad brush, I paint them with that same broad brush back. Because how they see one is usually how they see all. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be in the description. Have your notifications turned on.